So I think this is a good point to start. So my name is Humphrey Nkonge. I'm the Director of Programs at Passcode Global Consultants. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome you so much to this meeting. This is a pre-information session, which is normally organized by Passcode Global Consultants for the sake of giving information to nurses to bridge the gap, that is to bridge the gap of employment and unemployment between the countries that need nurses and they do not have enough, and the countries that have an excess supply of nurses. So I will just, for now, I will allow a few people to just say hi and say their expectations in this meeting, what they would like to hear, their expectations, the questions they may have, so that when our speakers will be speaking, they can address the issues you're going to raise. So anyone who wants to say hi and ask their question, or maybe say their expectation, just raise up your hand and I'm going to see you and give you the chance. As well, you can also pass over your expectations on chat, and we are going to see it and read it and address it to the best of our knowledge. So feel free to use the chat functionality. It is a platform where you can be able to communicate to us. And I believe that all the people who are in the meeting are nurses. If you are not a nurse as well, you can listen, but make sure you pass the information to nurses out there, because the aim of this meeting is to pass information to nurses. And especially today, we are dealing with the NCLEX exam, the nursing exam that is needed for nurses to go practice in the United States. In the house, we have with us some of the people who have done the passcode program just recently, and they have pursued the exam and passed it. And we will be hearing from them. But before that, as I have said, this is a chance for you guys in the audience to just raise up your hand if you have an expectation you would like to be addressed. Probably you want to know about how to prepare to go to the test center to South Africa. Maybe you want to know how to look for a job after you have done the self-sponsored program. Probably you want to know how hard is the NCLEX. Maybe you want to know the materials you're supposed to use when you're revising for the NCLEX. Maybe you have done the NCLEX, you did not make it, and you want to try and make it this time around. All those, maybe you have applied with the CGFNS, your report is delaying. Maybe you have applied for your transcripts, they are not coming out. We are addressing every part of the USRN process. So with us, we have people who have gone through the process and they are ready to give us information for free, just so that you guys can go through the process better. And I can assure you that even those who have gone through the process in the past few months, they had an advantage than those people who went through the process like 3 years ago when there was very little information available. So part of our organization's mission is to pass as much information as possible about the global opportunities for nurses in the world. So Chimkumbuso Mobagwe, I can see your message. My question and expectation is how to look for a job and what is the process for NCLEX exams. Those ones are going to be addressed right here. So that is well noted. Just be listening and we are going to address that. So as I wait for more of your expectations, I'll now be saying a little bit about our organization. Our organization is called Passcode Global Consultants. It's an organization by nurses for nurses. And what we do is that apart from passing information, we assist nurses to do the self-sponsored NCLEX RN process. The self-sponsored NCLEX RN process is whereby you sponsor your process, you do NCLEX by yourself without tying yourself to an agency. And then thereafter, you get a job directly to a hospital in the US. The agency comes in to assist you only to do the immigration process, but they do not employ you, so that you get the benefits of being a staff nurse in the US, and also you get a higher hourly pay. And that comes with many advantages when you are a staff nurse. So a good number of you have been asking about the charges, the fees, the process, the amount of time it takes, how to travel to the test center, which centers do we have in Africa or close to where majority of us are coming from. And some of that information is again going to be passed to you here in this webinar. So I will now go to the part of introducing our guests, and I will start with Dennis Wako, who works with Passcode as an administrative director. So Dennis, if you can hear me, just unmute yourself kindly and say hi.
Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Dennis Wako. I am the program administrator as Passcode Global Consultant. I'm the guy behind registrations and regarding to the NCLEX exam. So I also do a lot of things as Passcode. I know most of you, maybe you have interacted in one way or another. Welcome to this meeting. Feel free to engage and learn as much as possible. Thank you, Humphrey.
Thank you very much, Dennis. So I will now be calling on our guests. I'll start with Marianne. Marianne, you just say hi, and then I'll be giving you a chance to say the others later. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Humphrey. Hi, everyone. Karibuni sana.
Okay, our next guest is Mercy Mosau. Mercy, if you can hear me, just unmute and say hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mercy. We'll be talking more about the NCLEX. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So G.O. Kawera, good evening. My expectation is to learn how to master test taking strategies. Wow. So over to you, Mercy, and Marianne, when you'll be talking, you make sure to say something about the NCLEX test taking strategies, because part of the audience in this meeting are people who are already preparing for the NCLEX, and they would like to know, how do you master NCLEX content? How do you master NCLEX test taking strategies? Because as I usually say, those are the two main things when you're preparing for the NCLEX. You must get the content right, and you must get the strategies right. So since today is not my day, I will be inviting our guests to take over. But before that, allow me to invite Dennis and give him about 5 or so minutes to just say what exactly he does at Passcode and talk about the registration for the NCLEX exam. Welcome so much, Dennis.
Thank you, Humphrey, for the chance again. So I'm going to talk about the USRN registration process, from the first process, which is the CES application, that is the Credential Evaluation Service, to the point now where we do the NCLEX exam schedule. So as most of you are aware, or if you're not aware, I'm going to explain to you the process. For you to sit for the NCLEX exam, you need first to do a couple of registration. So for us as Passcode, that's what we do. We help you with the registrations. We have a package of 20,000. That is our service fee that we charge. Once you pay that fee, we are going to take you through all the process. So I'm going to start with the first process, which is the Credential Evaluation Service. And we have two main bodies that does that. That is CGFNS and GSA. So the two bodies vary in terms of timeline and also the cost. So for CGFNS, they charge $450. and they take around 12 to 14 weeks to issue the CS report. When it comes to Joseph Shinley, that is the GSA, their fee is $400. But if you want an extra copy to be sent to you, you will pay an extra of 20 USD. That is $20. And their wait time is around 1 month from the time which they receive all your verified document from your nursing school and NCK. So one thing you note is that the individual cost, that is the application fee for the CS report, you are going to pay using your credit card. So it's not included in the 20,000 that we charge. The 20,000 is our service fee. Once you are done with that, we will open for you the board of nursing. There are many variables that we look before we choose the board of nursing that you are going to process your NCLEX exam. We mainly go with Texas Board of Nursing and New Mexico. Although if you have a specific board of nursing in mind and you meet all the requirements that they need, we are free to also apply that. But most of cases, you find that most boards, they require the social security number, which I know most of you don't have. So for those who are going to go with Texas, there is an exam called jurisprudence exam. It's basically the rules and laws of nursing. That is the rules of nursing. That is the nursing governance. We are going to guide you on how to handle that exam. We also do for you the security background check that is done with Identigo. We are going to do the application for you, and we are also going to issue the fingerprint cards. So we are going to give you the FBI fingerprint cards, which you're going to get fingerprinted, then you mail to the institution. So for those who are not around Nairobi, we usually parcel them to you. Then we will do the Pearson registrations. This is the body that administers the NCLEX exam. So once you apply with them, you are going to get the ATT, that is the authority to test. And the authority to test is valid for 3 months. So we usually advise you and evaluate you to see if you are ready to apply the ATT. Once you have gotten your ATT and you are ready, we are going to hold a Zoom meeting with you. We tell you the available dates, then we do the NCLEX scheduling for you. So basically that is in regard to NCLEX process. And we also do the NCLEX RN training. That is the NCLEX revision program that runs for 4 months. And we charge a fee of 30,000 and all 300 USD for those who are not residents of Kenya and who are paying using.
Okay, Dennis, seems like we lost you. Okay. So it seems like we lost Dennis, and I think I can take over just a little bit from where he left. At the end, he was talking about the NCLEX RN program. That is a 4-month program. It is a course whereby we enroll you to a class. You'll be receiving, you'll be doing classes online via Zoom at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. AAT. And through that program, we assist you to prepare well and pass the NCLEX exam. We give you the revision materials, the questions, and also in our online learning portal, you are able to access all the recordings for the lectures and other materials for learning. So thank you very much, Dennis. If you have questions, you guys in the audience, if you have questions, Dennis will be answering them. in the chat box, and also he can be given another chance to ask, to address the questions. So at this point, I would like to invite our guests, and we are going to start with Mary Ann Mohammed. So Mary Ann is a registered nurse in Kenya. She is also a registered nurse in the United States now, having passed the NCLEX exam. Congratulations to Mary Ann. Just the other day, actually, in this August. So Mary Ann is going to be is already one of our guests today, and she's going to talk to us about our NCLEX journey. She's going to address the NCLEX RN strategies and any other thing you'd like to talk about in regard to the NCLEX RN process. And I know people are going to ask questions. So Marianne, I'm going to give you about 15 minutes for that. You're welcome so much. And now the stage is yours.
Wow. Thank you very much, Humphrey, and the team. Kindly, kindly mute yourself. I'm super grateful. I don't know if I am audible enough, Humphrey.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think it's a dream come true, because when you're bringing the other guests, I was like, when will my time also come to give a little bit of testimony of how this journey was? But who is God? Here I am today. I'm very, very, very much grateful. So I'm really humbled to be given this opportunity. The Passcode Global team, I heard there's a mixed up of new students and others who want to sit for the exams recently. So you guys are in a good position. You are in a good place. This place is a very nice place of learning, whereby you can achieve a lot of things in terms of the NCLEX preparations. So know that you're in the right place. That is what I can say. So as Humphrey said, my name is Marian Mohammed, a Kenya registered nurse. USRN in town. That's what I can say maybe. So the journey wasn't really as easy as I thought it will be. So a little bit of how I started this journey. Basically, I started last year at around February. So I had a little bit of challenges, up and down. Basically, that was what Humphrey had mentioned in the post. He said my process was slow but sure. Literally, that is how it was. I managed to do my exams in India on 22nd August. That is which I managed to do 85 questions. So in terms of, I really want to share some of the things that helped me through this journey. I know it is not a really smooth journey. It needs a lot of support, both financially, emotionally. So some of the tips that I gathered that might help one of you is that number one is time. You need to strategize your time properly. And then the other thing is that you need to know your best time of reading. Some of us are good some of us are nocturnal, others are daytime people. So you also need to know to grasp what time to read. And then you also need to know something of everything. That's what I usually say. Know something of everything. So that when you go to the NCLEX, at least you have a clear picture of everything that is being brought. Like you won't be left behind. Eh? And then in any day every day, make sure that you need to personalize this process. Like when I say you personalize, I mean that every day, like if a day passes and you haven't done anything to do with NCLEX, you need to be so worried about that. You need to know like there's something missing that I haven't done. So that is also other thing. And then during this journey, you also need support systems, people who will support you financially, emotionally. To be honest, even the emotional part is more on a higher perspective, because this journey is draining. Sometimes you feel like you need to to give up, but you need some people who will talk to you. I know a lot of us will, you can testify that along the time you had started this process up to now, you have lost few individuals, few friends, but you still need these people who will support you, that will call you every now and then to remind you that you gotta go, you got this, you will pass the NCLEX. That's also other thing that at least it helped me to excel through this process. And then in terms of now the reading strategies, as I said, you need to know something of everything, because NCLEX, when you go to that room, you're not sure of what they will bring. You need to get in there with an open mind, having known that they can bring everything. So everything, like every content, you have to know something kidogo too, so that you familiarize yourself with it. And then you also need to create your own mnemonics. Hata kama you will use it in your own mother tongue, as long as you are understanding. I don't know if there's any Somalis in the house, because there's some other mnemonics that I used to use in our mother tongue. I used to translate those wordings into my own mother tongue so that I can understand very well. You need to personalize this reading. That is what I mean. Create your own mnemonics, and then try to know everything, something or everything. And then in terms of now, when you're doing the questions, the question, you need to, before I jump into the question banks, and then I usually say, if you're remaining with a month, try to compile your leaves. By the way, that one also helps. You compile your leaves so that you take them the last month to your exams. It really helps, because that month you read in a way that you haven't read. Extremely reading. Yani you don't have anything. You just wake up, it is NCLEX. It is afternoon, it is NCLEX. Lunch, NCLEX. Evening, NCLEX. Night time, it is NCLEX. Yani that 1 month, you need to super exhaust yourself with reading NCLEX. So it is good, at least if you're working, you compile your leaves, and then you take them 1 month prior to sitting your exams. In terms of question bar, in terms of now, and then in terms of, some people will ask, how long, when will I start having my question banks? You can get your question bank as early as starting the program, because it helps a lot. It helps a lot. You familiarize yourself with the questions, how the questions are being asked, because this one, it is a new generation NCLEX. Things had been changed compared to the old generation. So you need to familiarize yourself with the questions, and then a day should not pass without you doing at least few of some questions. I will not say you must need to do 85 questions. Sometimes it's more difficult. To be honest, also me, it was challenging to do every day 85 questions, but at least hata kama small part of it is helpful, So when you do the questions, and then even if you get that question right or wrong, even if you get the question right, I mean, you need to now put more effort on the rationales. You read the rationales very, very well. Hata kama you see this question, it is much easier. You don't need to ignore the rationale. You need to read that, because it will help you now to, maybe if you get a familiar question, you can answer it properly. So each day you need to do some questions for NCLEX. It doesn't matter, like if you do 40 or 50 questions. Yeah, that is in terms of questions. And then the materials that I have used. The materials I used several. I used the Level Up RN, and then the usual, the Simple Nursing, the Registered Nurse RN, whereby I see like Registered Nurse, she's more detailed, yeah? She's more detailed than the others. So maybe Simple Nursing and Level Up RN, those ones are much, much simpler compared to Start a Registered Nurse. And then in terms of question banks, I had used NAS Achieve for a month, for some months, I think, and then it got expired. And then I also used the Archer. What I usually recommend is that you don't need to be fixed on one question bank. No, one question bank. You need to have as much as two. Actually, two is okay, because you know, if you are dwelling so much on one question bank, you might know how they ask questions. You might master their question asking strategies. So you will find every now and then you are passing those questions. Kumbe, it is like you have just mastered their asking strategies. So it is good you feel a test of another question bank. So you have two at most, maybe. You compare and you do a comparison of the questions. And then I don't know if I forgot something in terms now. I know some few days to the exams, you will feel a little bit of tense. So you need to have someone to talk to. That is what I usually say. You need to have a support system, and I will repeat that several times, because I had seen how it had worked. This process is draining, so you need someone to work with, at least someone who will constantly remind you. Like ukuwe na mtu like anakufuata every now and then. Okay, today you woke up. Okay, how many questions have you done? Yani someone who is constantly on your toes, like reminding you that this process, it is the process that it is something that you are going up to. Yani, you have to have someone like that. And then in terms of you also need to have mastery of content. For example, let's say cardiovascular. You have read cardiovascular, and there is nothing much you are grasping. You have read the sounders, and then there is some content that you need. You're not grasping. So what the tactics that that help me a lot is when, for example, I have read something and I haven't grasped. I see there is something that I'm missing out. I usually go back to videos. You see, now you have read. You use the videos of that similar content. By the way, it really helps a lot, because visualizing and seeing, it's much better than now reading actually itself. So that one also helps. And then in terms of now answering questions, if I go back there for SATs, by the way, I usually had that problem and I overcame it. In SATs, with this new gen, it has been increased. Sometimes you'll find you'll have 6 or 5 multiple choices for SATs. So sometimes you will have an inner thought, like when you choose 2 choices, there's something in you that will tell you that no, that question might need 3 choices, might need 3 answers. Why are you choosing 2? To be honest, in SATA, just choose the answers that you know you are 100% sure it is correct. Don't add anything or remove anything. Just choose the answers that you know it is correct. Like that is now for SATA questions. And then in terms of now the D-Day, for me, I went to India. So usually when in terms of now accommodation, usually you center. And then in terms of traveling, you need to see there. And then, so when the D-Day comes, go to the exam center early. Just go there, can happen. Even despite the exam center being nearer to where you stay, anything can happen. You might find that day there is an accident, maybe there is a heavy rains, you don't know. So go to your exam center some 1 hour, 2 or 1 hour, 30 minutes to the exam date. When you're entering there, have an open mind, knowing that the the computer can shut down at either 85 questions or in between 85 or 150. But if you go with a mindset that the computer, it has to shut down at 85, my friend, you can go there, you have reached 85, the computer that doesn't shut down. You start now panicking. You see? So have an open mind when you're going there. Having in mind that your computer can shut down anywhere, or you can do as much as 150 questions, or you can do as less than like 85 questions. So I don't know if I have left something behind, Humphrey. I don't know if I've exhausted the 15 minutes. Hopefully that is what maybe I can now say in terms of my journey. And then lastly, I want to thank all the Passcode Global Consultant team, Humphrey, specifically Edwin. I don't know if he's still in the group. The individualized classes really helped me. When I say in Passcode you have, by the way, I haven't. Some people might say maybe you have been paid to market Passcode. No. This is from the bottom of my heart. The things that I have gone through. You are in the right hands. Make use of these people. Passcode has great tutors, which are very knowledgeable. If I can say, I have interacted with Edwin. I've interacted with Humphrey. I don't know if Edwin is in class. Make use of them. Just disturb them. These people need to be disturbed. Call them, text them, ask them questions. If you are not sure of what you're answering, keep them on their toes. These guys will help you. This we need to conquer. We need to. I know what we are going through as nurses in Kenya. So kindly make use of these people. Make use of Edwin. Make use of Humphrey. They are great people, and thank you so much. Thank you a lot. I don't know if I forgot something to mention. Maybe if I remember in between the classes, I can chip in and highlight. So keep the questions coming. Maybe we will answer them at the end of the session. Back to you, Humphrey.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I appreciate you a lot for accepting to come to this meeting. Kindly mute yourself, guys. Okay. Okay, Dennis, kindly mute the person who is unmuted. Okay, so thank you so much, Marianne, for that presentation. It was elaborate, and myself have also been able to learn a few things from your presentation, and some that I would like to emphasize is, and you really emphasized this, is about personalized learning. I like the way you put it in going to the extent of doing mnemonics in your own language. If you have to do all that to pass NCLEX, then why not? You also talked about a variety of revision materials. I also agree with that. If you have done the Archer question bank, you still have 2 months or 3 months to test. Don't go buy another Archer question bank. Try a different question bank so that you can do questions from different question banks and know whether you have really mastered the content or you have just mastered the style of questions from that particular question bank. So thank you so much, Marianne. And I want to wish you the best in the remaining part of your USRN process. Lastly, you also talked about the good support system. It is also very important to have a good support system because it is not very easy for an adult getting back to class. The NCLEX exam is a demanding exam. So when an adult is getting back to class, probably you have a family. That means you have a spouse, you have children, you have your parents that you're taking care of, or maybe they need your attention or something like that. You have your job, you have your business. It's so much demanding. So having a support system is really very, very important. I'm now going to invite our resident moderator, Our resident moderator is called Donald Galula, who is a nurse by profession. He will introduce himself and he's going to take over and invite our next guest as well as moderate the questions part. So Donald, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself and take over.
Hi, Sir Humphrey, jambo sana, and thank you very much for holding the fort down while I was trying to settle in. I don't know why we had traffic today in Nairobi, but fair enough, we are here, and it's good and encouraging to see the composition of attendees that we have today. Welcome very much, everyone, once again. And I was listening into what Marianne was sharing, and I'd like also just to point out one thing for those who are making notes. There's something she said about having an accountability partner throughout your entire preparation. And so I thought we can also just to remind us for those who are making notes. So before I invite the next speaker, for people who have questions, please keep your questions coming through the chat box. Humphrey and Marianne and Mercy will be answering some of the questions in the chat. The question that will not be answered in the chat will be answered live towards the end of the meeting. You know, Marianne, still stay with us because she'll need you during the Q&A session and also when giving the call to action. Our next speaker is called Mercy. Mercy Musau is also a registered nurse here in Kenya and a registered nurse also in the US. She has passed NCLEX exam with passcode. She's one of the alumni of passcode consultants. So Mercy, we are ready to tap in from your wells of wisdom regarding these matters. Karibu sana, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much, Donald. I can hear you.
Oh, Mercy can take it over and take us through your experience and your journey of resilience.
Okay, thank you so much. You can confirm for me if I'm audible enough.
Loud and clear.
Thank you so much. So I hope everyone is okay. And as mentioned earlier, I'm Mercy Musau, an alumna of Passcode Consultants. I went through them for my classes until I successfully passed my NCLEX. And Marianne has talked a lot of wisdom about the test taking strategies. And I will add a few on my personal journey to my success in the NCLEX journey. And I'll be brief. I won't say much, but if you have a question, of course, you can always send it into the chat box. So now, since we are a mixture of persons awaiting the NCLEX soon and the newbies who have just joined the journey, for one, I'd really like to encourage you, if you have not joined the Passcode Consultant class, make an effort to do so, because that is where you are going to get a lot of info. Before I joined Passcode, I struggled a lot, honestly, because, you know, when you begin the NCLEX journey, it's like a jungle. You're just in a forest. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to head. You have so many materials. You don't know which material to start with, where to go. But I found Passcode on a social media platform. It's Instagram, if I'm not forgetting. And I got in touch with them. They sent me their schedule, their classes, and their services, and I decided to join them. And the journey was amazing. So make an effort to do so, especially the ones who are asking about mastering content and preparation for the NCLEX journey. They give you a lot of guidance. So these are some of the tips I wanted to share with you guys today. And one of the things I want to say is have a timetable, kindly. You know, most of us are family people. You are either married or you have children, and you have a job, and you also have other things to attend to, and you need to schedule your time well so that you can be able to accommodate everything that is going on in your life. But when you're preparing for NCLEX, it's like everything else stops, and all your concentration is on NCLEX. So please, you must have a timetable. And not only having a timetable, but you have to be faithful to it. When you are making your timetable, you can either do it weekly or you can do it on a daily basis. Maybe putting into mind your duties, maybe in the hospital or where you're working, whatever your preference is. Just make sure you have a timetable and you be faithful to it. You're going to slot in what you're going to be studying on a daily basis. If you have classes, you know you have classes from this time to this time. Your personal study, you know you're studying from this time to this time. I like what Mary Ann said. Know what kind of a person you are. Are you a morning person or you are nocturnal? Personally, I am a nocturnal person. I struggled with morning classes. I'm telling you, I struggled with morning classes, but through it all, God helped me. So I would get out of work and I had my schedule. If I had class, I knew my class would run from 7 to 9 or up to around 10. From there, I know I am going to cook for 1 hour. I'm going to take a shower and eat for this. So that by 12 midnight, I am in my books up to around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. because as I've said, I am a nocturnal person. So you must have a timetable and be faithful to it. You have to plan your 24 hours. You have no time to lose even an hour of your time when you're preparing for NCLEX. Number 2, you have to study smart and wide. When I say study smart and wide, you must know which materials you are using. You can't have just a bunch of materials. You have Sounders, you have McClimac, you have these Nasachiv, you must arrange your study materials. Know when you are studying them. Know which content you are looking for in those particular study materials that you have, and have a variety of them because NCLEX is wide. And if it is wide, you must have a variety of materials where you are getting your information from. Don't just rely on one book. Don't just rely on Google. Don't just rely on Sounders alone. Don't just rely on if it's Rema Quick Facts alone. No, you must have a wide variety of these materials and books, because you might read an explanation in one book and you don't get it, but then you read an explanation in another book and you understand it perfectly, because the writers are different and they are airing out their points differently. So you might understand one book better than the other. That is why it is very important to have a variety of study materials. 3, discipline. My friend, you do not have time to waste on social media, with friends, going out and partying when you are awaiting NCLEX. You have to cut your social life totally. That's sacrifice that you have to make when you are preparing for NCLEX. Your world now just runs around NCLEX. Everything is about NCLEX, just like Marianne was saying. So discipline is very important. And when I talk about discipline, I will talk about discipline in your study schedule. If you have a group study, if you're a person who you study well in groups, you must be disciplined enough to be attending group studies. If you do not study well in groups, you do well when you studied alone, then you must be disciplined enough to know that my timetable says I should be studying from 4 to 6. So you have to wake up, or you have to stop whatever it is that you're doing and go to your studies. If it is classes, you must attend classes. If your class begins at 7, you have to be there at 7 to attend the classes. If it is something to do with assignments, my friend, you have to find time to do those assignments. You complete them and you forward them for marking, or you mark for yourself and grade yourself. So discipline has to be 100%. The other thing, you have to do practice questions. But now with practicing questions, you gotta study the content first. I have seen a question where somebody was asking how soon they can get a Q bank. I did a mistake of getting a Q bank before I had familiarized myself with the content. I'm telling you, I was just scoring 30s. And I was so demoralized. I was like, my God, how do people pass this thing? How is this thing done? I didn't know that it is better, or I should have studied the content first, because the nursing that you're doing in NCLEX is not the nursing that we do in Kenya. it's different. What is happening in the US is so different from what is happening in Kenya. So if you just go there with your Q bank and you start answering questions and you do not have content, you answer those questions with a Kenyan mind. NCLEX does not want a Kenyan mind. It has the context of the US. So you have to think like them. And you cannot think like them if you have not studied that content. So most importantly, grasp the content first, then now go for the Q bank. So as you study the content, you practice the question. If you have a particular topic you're studying, for example, if you're studying cardiovascular, if you're doing pharmacology, do your pharmacology, then go to your Q bank, do the questions. So you have studied the material, then you're doing the Q bank. That is one of the ways to master the contents that you are doing. Then the other thing, know your weak areas and put more time into them. You know, you cannot be just like perfect in all the areas in NCLEX. There are some areas you will grasp better than others. Like personally, I had a big problem with cardiovascular and pharmacology. And pharmacology, it was specifically the cardiovascular meds and the psychiatric meds. I even remember the last days to my NCLEX. I really disturbed Humphrey and Edwin for them to take me through these things because I couldn't go into the exam room without grasping this content. So you have to know your weak areas so that you can work on them. And you will not know your weak areas if you are not studying and doing questions. That is the only way you will know, oh, I am good in this and I am not so good in this. But I'm not saying you ignore the other areas. You have to balance everything, but work more on the weak areas. In the Q banks, I like the way, like when you answer a question, they will give you a percentage of how many candidates passed that question. They will tell you it was above 40%, 60% answered correctly. So you can use such kind of percentages to analyze how you answer your questions. Because if you see like you have gotten a question wrong and 80% of the students got that question right, that means it is something you should be knowing. You know, one thing about NCLEX, there are usually three things. There are must knows. There are things that you must know, whether you like it or not, because these are things that you will find getting 80% above, in short, above 40% in that question. So that means that question or that content area is a must know. You have to go back to your books and study that part. Then there are things that are just good to know, like when you're studying when you're doing your studies randomly and you're doing the questions. We have these questions where people just like it is 10 to 25% where students are getting. Those are good to know questions because they really help you in your curve when you're doing your NCLEX. They will keep you above the red line. Then there are questions that are I just call them nuts to know. This is now the really deep information that you will find. It is the level of difficulty is high. And you must have studied high and wide for you to get that particular question. These are the questions you will get like 1% answered correctly or 2% answered correctly. So these three areas, focus on the things that are must know and also know some of the things that are good and not to know. They will really help you out. And once you identify your weak areas, you will be able to go through this journey successfully. For beginners, I would say one Q bank will be okay for you. You'll be, because when you're beginning this journey, it's not good you mix up yourself with a lot of materials, because you'll just disappear in the middle and be confused in the middle, and then you'll be overwhelmed for nothing. So it's just good you have one Q bank in the beginning, and then now when you're nearing the exam, like for the persons who are preparing for the exams in the near future, either in 1 or 2 months to come, you need to have at least 2 Q banks, something that Mary Ann had mentioned. You cannot just be answering questions from one Q bank and then you are always scoring 80s. Kumbe, you've just mastered the way they are setting the questions. So you need to have not less than 2 Q banks when you are nearing your exams. The other thing is what I had said before. Do not wear yourself out with a lot of materials. I remember there was a time I was talking to Humphrey. I felt so overwhelmed because I had a lot of materials. I felt like I had a lot of content to study, and he guided me through. on what I can study fast and what I can study later. So if you're feeling like maybe overwhelmed, you can always reach out to these guys. They are really helpful, but just make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself with materials because you're going to get more confused. So instead of studying, you are confusing yourself. Then, for those who are nearing exams, I would advise you, we have what we call the readiness assessment tests in the Q banks. If you've gone through them, I'm sure you've come across them. Somebody is saying I'm breaking. Am I audible now? Sorry. I think it's my network. It's just a bit.
From my end, you look good. I'm not sure if she's
okay.
She can try checking her network, but you're good.
Okay, thank you.
From my end, she's very okay. The network is...
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you. So what I was saying for those who are nearing exams, you need to do at least 2 readiness assessment tests and a CAT per week. Readiness assessment test will tell you, or they will show you how ready you are for the exams. That's what it's called, a readiness assessment test. And there is a particular score that you need to have. You always have to be on the green side of the readiness assessment tests so that you can know that you're ready to do the NCLEX. But if you're getting a lot of fails in the readiness assessment test, then my friend, I would advise that you do not take the NCLEX first. Then the CAT. The CAT, you have to do it on a weekly basis. Remember, you have been studying and you have been doing the other Q banks. Now, this readiness assessment test and the CATs are to create resilience because you'll be simulating what you're going to do in the NCLEX room. So the CAT will give you the curve. The CAT will show you how you have been answering the question. I really liked the NAS Achieve that Humphrey helped me out with. NAS Achieve will give you a very good curve. And Archer, if I'm not wrong, also does the same. It just shows you how your curve goes when you're answering the questions. So you're able to see, oh, in questions 2, 3, 4, I went below the curve. I go back. What is question 2, 3, and 4? Asking, which is the content area? I go back to study that area. So if you're nearing exams, please, can you start doing 2 readiness assessment tests and a CAT weekly, on a weekly basis? Then, just like Marianne has said, I will emphasize on the leave. When you're nearing your NCLEX, kindly see how you can get your leave from work. It will be very difficult for you to prepare. You're having an exam in a month's time or in 2 months' time, and you're still working or you're still on duty. You will not have enough time to master the content that you need to. So see how you can get leave from work in the last month to your exam so that you can have enough time to prepare. The other thing is make sure that you rest. As much as we are saying, go through your books, study, do this, let your life revolve around NCLEX, rest at least once a week. Like myself, I used to rest on Sunday. So Sunday was just a no books for me. I wouldn't do anything. I didn't want to do anything to do with books on Sundays, so that on Monday morning, I am refreshed and I am ready to begin the week again with books. So find a day when you can rest, take a break, do something that is not even books related, relax and refresh your mind so that, because you know the mind it's an engine, it's a machine, it also needs to be serviced. So take a rest at least once a week. The other thing is, apart from just studying the books and going through their question banks, do audios. Actually, audios helped me a lot in my journey. And audios, it's not a must that you just sit down and then now you decide today I'm going to sit down and do audios. No, I used to substitute studying with audios. When I have studied and I feel like I think my head is saturated, it cannot get any more information into it, my mind is tired, I will just take audios. I will do MacLeMec, I will do NAS Labs, I will do NAS Mike, I will do this NAS called the Registered NAS Sarah. There are so many audios that are free on YouTube. So when you are in a position to do an audio, do it. It will also help you to master the content. And the good thing with audios, is that you can do them anywhere, everywhere. I used to do audios when I am washing my house, when I am doing the dishes, when I am cooking. The only place I never did audios was in the bathroom. But when I'm traveling, I am cleaning, I am sweeping, something was always in my phone. And people just think, this person just loves listening to music. My friend, you do not have time to listen to music. It's on Goma latest, you just have to do away with them totally. Every time an earphone is in your ear, it has to be an audio. Either it has to be Maclimek, either it has to be Nas Mike, either it has to be Nas Saranas. It has to do something with NCLEX. You are going to substitute all your music, all your videos, or your TikToks into NCLEX audios. That is what is going to help you come through. Because I remember when I was in the exam, I will just hear Maclimek talking in my head. I will read a question and I'm like, oh, Maclimek was then saying this. Nas Mike was saying this, the way he explains things so well in audios and in videos. So I'd be like, oh, he was talking about King Potassium. King Potassium is this, and this is what it does. It goes. So those videos will just replay in my head. And that made it easy for me to answer the questions. So it is good if you incorporate that into your lifestyle, like from now. The other thing is, when you have decided that now it is NCLEX and books alone, I will ask you to cut yourself from a lot of responsibilities, whether it is in your family, whether it is socially, whether you are a chairperson to something, because I know we are intertwined into so many things because we are different and we have also other things that you're doing. Now, these other social life issues that we are supposed to handle during our time when you're preparing for the NCLEX, I would advise that you hand over those responsibilities to somebody else, so that you can have time to study and you organize your work, and yes, and you'll go through well with the NCLEX. So for the materials I used, as I had mentioned, first of all, I had Passcode, Global Consultants. That was an amazing class. And one thing that I just loved about Passcode Consultants is that they have the recordings. They have a website. When you are a student there, when you accidentally miss a class, because I know sometimes we are in night shifts and you might miss a class, you can always go back to the recording. When I missed a class, just the following day, I wouldn't wait for the recordings to pile up. I would go back to the website, or I would go back to the class that was in the previous day, study what they are studied. If it was an assignment that was given, or if it were referrals that were given, I would go through them. Because if you wait for those recordings to pile up, you'll have a hard time going through them. And because there is a timetable, every week there is a timetable of what you're studying, you need to keep up with the topics that are being studied, so that whatever it is that they are studying, whatever it is that they're studying in class, you also have books. That is what you are having in your personal study, and it will really help you to master this content really quickly. So Passcode was one of them. And I had, of course, Sounders. I had the latest edition of Sounders, and I used NAS Labs, I used Rema QuickFact, and for the Q banks, yeah, that is mostly of the materials that I had. For the Q banks, I had UWorld, and I also had Archer, and sometime later I also had NASAchieve, and there are some, those are the ones that you buy. And I used to have the free ones, like the NAS Labs and the YouTube videos, where there are also questions that are posted. So those are the materials that I used to study. And sometimes you need to repurchase a particular Q bank. If you have exhausted and you feel like you haven't utilized that Q bank, you can always purchase it again, so that you can make sure you master the content that is in that particular Q bank. And finally, I would say you just need to have confidence and a positive attitude. NCLEX is challenging, but it is doable. I never thought that I would actually go over it. I used to hear people saying it is doable. I actually panicked when it became the new generation NCLEX. And I remember telling Humphrey, oh, I wish I could do the old generation NCLEX, but unfortunately I had issues with my papers. So I had I had to move my time forward, and the new generation NCLEX caught up with me. And the only thing you need there is just the confidence, because the particular questions that are being asked there, they are the same as in the old generation NCLEX, only that they have changed some formats of the questions. Like the way Marianne said, the answering of the questions, like in the SATA, you find like the SATA, they'll give you more answers, but they only need you to pick 2 or 3. We have the trend questions, they have the bow tie, which never used to be there in the old generation NCLEX. So you need confidence and just have a positive attitude. And I also like to add and say, in the NCLEX preparation or in the mastering content, I will still insist you have to do something NCLEX related every day. I think that has also been mentioned by Marianne, that you have no option. You must do something NCLEX related every day. Master mnemonics and videos. Combine those two, a mnemonic and a video on top of the content that you have studied. Then join a class, join a group, have somebody whom you study with if you do well in group studies. Now, for the NCLEX exam day, this is what I'd like to say. When your exam is tomorrow, please sleep early. Do not go into the exam room with a tired mind. My friend, you will fail because you have been studying throughout the night and overnight. Please don't cram NCLEX overnight. You are going to go into the exam room with a tired mind and you will fail. So please, when you are preparing to go into the exam room, sleep early that day so that you wake up with a refreshed mind, and just stay away from the books. Be very calm, be relaxed, and go to your exam center. Go to your exam center early. Be there early enough so that you can familiarize yourself with the environment and you can go with the check-in and processes well. Then don't panic when you are in the exam room, just like Marianne has said, because most of us expect that our computers are going to shut off at 85 questions. I know it happened to me. I was like, oh my God, I just want my computer to shut at 85. But I remember I had a friend of mine who was still encouraging me. She was also in the passport consultant class. She had gone before me and passed her NCLEX. So she was telling me, you just don't panic, even if it doesn't shut at 85, have the confidence, because just go into that room knowing you're going to do 150 questions, so that if it doesn't shut at 85, you won't panic. Because my friend, when you panic, when the computer hasn't shut off at 85 questions, you will fail. The curve will just go down, the computer will shut off at whatever questions, and you will have failed, because now you're not thinking straight because you have panicked. I'd rather you just panic after the exam, that is okay, but don't panic during the exam, because if your computer goes beyond 85 questions, that means that you're still in the game. You're still answering answers correctly. So the computer just has to determine 2, 3, 4, or 5 questions of whether you are above the curve or below the curve. So that is the time to boost your confidence that, I'm still in the game. So I need to answer just a few more questions correctly, and I'm in. Then you have to think critically when you are in the exam, because there will be no direct question in that exam room. Everything that you're going to be answering on your computer is going to be based on the knowledge that you acquired during your study time. I can assure you that you are not going to get a direct question. You might not get a single question the same as all the questions that you have undergone in your Q bank, but they are always related. All they do is twist the question a little bit. So if you think critically, you'll be like, they are asking for this is a priority question. This is what this is this kind of a question. So when you think critically, you'll be able to go through that exam successfully. And another thing is that please eat healthy before you go into the exam room. Just if you're unable to eat, like myself, I am this person who gets all these butterflies before an exam, and I am not able to eat even the previous night. Carry something to the exam room. That is what I did. I carried some biscuits and some juice. So when the exam, when I was in the middle of the exam, and it's like, do you want to take a break? I took a break. I went, took my juice and my biscuits, and I came back refreshed. So if you're not able to eat the previous night, kindly Make sure you carry something to eat to the exam center. You need that energy to think, because you have to give it your all. And I would also like to insist on this part that Marianne talked about. The SATA questions in NJN, there is this negative marking. So if the question wants you to pick 4 answers, because it is 4 answers that are correct, and you pick the 4 answers correctly, but you add 2. They are going to take the 4 and minus 2. So you're going to get 2 points for that particular questions. So if you are not sure in the SAT question about a particular choice, just leave it. Just pick the question, the answer that you are 100% sure of, because that is the answer that is going to count. If they want 4 and you have picked 3 correct and not more than that, you will get your 3 marks. But if they want 4, you have picked 6, the 4 are correct and 2 are wrong, they'll just do 4 minus 2. So to avoid that negative marking that is going to contribute to your curve going downwards, just pick the answers that you are 100% sure. So that's about it. And for the travel, I personally did my exams in South Africa. And for some tips for traveling, those who are planning to do their exams in South Africa, it is in Sandton City in Johannesburg. Book your flight early. For one, it is cheaper, and it will also help you to reschedule in case there are issues. So you book your flight early. Do not wait for the last minute. It will be much cheaper for you. And sometimes there are just these issues with the flights. Just hear that like your flight has been rescheduled. Like I had a friend who was affected by that. Her exam was in 2 days, and she had booked her flight like maybe a week earlier. Then a few days to her travel, she got a message that her flight had been rescheduled to 3 days later. Remember, her exams was that 3 days later. You can imagine she had to make another booking, and she lost the money that she had booked the flight with. So book your flight early. Mapema ndo best. Then carry your study materials when you're going to wherever you're going to take your exam, if it is your laptop or whether they are your short notes or whatever it is, so that maybe the days before to your exam, don't book your flight like today and your exam is tomorrow. Please don't travel today and your exam is tomorrow. You'll be having issues to do with jet lags, and so you're tired and so many things. Travel a few days earlier before you go to do your exams. Like personally, I just traveled like a week earlier before I did my exams, because I just wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to make sure I wanted to give it my all. I didn't the thought of repeating NCLEX just tortured my head, and I didn't want to go through that. So I booked my flight like my exam was on 26th. I went to South Africa like a week before. So I familiarized myself with the exam center. I visited the exam center. I familiarized myself with the environment, the climate, and everything. And then I just did my final studies. And I really appreciate that in those last days, Passcode was really with me. They really supported me. I had personalized tutoring on the topics that I felt I had an issue with. Like I was telling you, I was always on Humphrey's neck. I was always on Edwin's neck, asking them, can you please explain this to me? And they will schedule Zoom classes, and we'll go through that particular class. We'll go through some questions until the last day. I was like, I think I feel confident, and I can manage to do this thing. So I'm thankful that I did my exam on that day. My exam stopped at 85 questions. And just to say something a little bit about what I got, you guys have to really go through the priority questions a lot, because NCLEX just wants to see if you are a safe nurse. So they will put in a lot of priority questions. So you have no option but to master those questions and know how to answer them. So priority is very key in passing the NCLEX. And personally in my exam, I got a lot of case management questions, the ones that you ask a lot of questions from one particular incident. And they drained me, but I thank God, because these particular questions, if you just think critically, you'll know, this is the condition they are asking about in this particular case management, and I will manage them well. And I went through the exam well. So yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe now if there are any questions, we'll be able to answer them in the next session. Thank you. Back to you, Donald.
Wow, thank you very much, Mercy, for honestly, by all honesty, according justice to your presentation. I was making some little points for summary. I think I'm at point number 21, adding up to what Marianne presented. And I'm pretty sure you have exhausted nearly every question that was popping up in the chat box. And I think for the sake of time, what you're going to do, there's only one question that I'll direct to both you and Marianne. So I'll begin with Marianne. Marianne, how long did it take you to prepare between when you began your process up to when you completed your exams and got registered? Are you able to give us some sense of time on that?
Thank you, Donald. Also, thank you, Mercy. I had seen you have really elaborated on some things that I had left out. So in terms of now the question, the time that I took, for me, first of all, I started this process, beginning of this process, I started last year, February, that is in 2022, right? So now I had issues with my documentations. So now, then I joined Passcode Consultant on, that is October. So to be honest, by that time, before I joined Passcode, now that is from February to October, I was just reading, but it was just mere reading. Ile tu ya juju, you are just curiosity, you're just curious about NCLEX, what it has, but intense reading, and now to getting serious of the process, I started on October. That is now the time I joined the class. That is from October last year to now, up to now this year, the time I did my exam, that is on August. Roughly, I don't know how long that is, from October last year to date to now August this year. Now the time that I had sat for my exams. So now that is now how long I took in preparing the NCLEX.
Oh wow! Thank you very much, Marianne. Mercy, can you give us some sense of time about your preparation?
For me, I took 8 months for my preparation. I had started earlier, but due to some documentation issues, I had not really started concentrating well in the NCLEX. But if I can give everyone like just a tincture of the time I used, I would say I used 8 months complete to prepare for my NCLEX.
Oh, amazing! And maybe just a follow-up question on this on the same thing. I've had both you and Marian had issues on documentation. So are you able probably to give a highlight, if not in depth, of some of these documentation issues? Probably may have somebody in the meeting today who may have the same issues and they do not know, for them to be able to prepare early. Thank you. Mercy?
Okay, for me, I remember my ATT really delayed, and I tried to follow it up personally on my own on what the issue would have been, and there was some papers that were supposed to be sent from the Nursing Council to clear out the CES reports, if I'm getting it correctly, and it had not yet been approved by the board. So if you looked at my portal, because I'm personally registered by Texas, there were a lot of verifications that were pending. So I was not able to get my ATT in time. So I had to prolong my study time as I was awaiting for my ATT. And I really thank Humphrey because he really helped me in following up of those papers, in sending the emails, and in following up in the verification of these papers, because he would give me directions like, you need to communicate to this body, you need to communicate to this body. And for sure, later on, my papers were verified and I got my ATT. So that is where my papers were.
Oh, great! Because I was almost going to phone Humphreys Jugular to ask if there's a way in which passcode can help speed up the process of verification or getting your CS report. Marian, what's your story about documentation?
Oh, thank you, Donald. For me, it was there was a delay with CGFNS when I had sent for verification, and then after I got now before now I did that before joining the passcode team. So kindly, when before joining I was messed up. I really never knew what to do because for this process I'm doing it as a self-sponsored. So I had very minimum information on the process. So I was to since I had a direct job with Minnesota Board of Nursing. So I had applied my CES report to that Board of Nursing, having not knowing that they need social security number. So I had waited almost 3 months for the CES report to Minnesota Board of Nursing. So after it came now, having waited for that long, that is the time I had discovered now when I wanted to register with the Board of Nursing that they need a social security number. So now I had to now redo it again with another Board of Nursing, that is the New Mexico Board of Nursing. You see, now that took a lot of time. So kindly for beginners, before you start it, you need to be well conversant which Board of Nursing needs social security number, which one does not need. You need a lot of information before starting. So that took a lot of bit of my time. And then I had, after now registering with the New Mexico Board of Nursing, my ATT also got delayed a little bit. No, that is now what caused the delay. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much. Quite interesting of what might cause delays, and thank you also for the advice on what we can do. I can see people are already even raising their own issues about documentation and whether it can have issues. Just get in touch with Passcode. They'll be able to help you out and sort you out through the entire process. So, Mr. Humphrey, I don't think there's any question that hasn't been answered because most questions were answered in the chat box. So I'll just ask you to put your mic on, Humphrey, and probably just address any question that might have popped up in your mind or in the chat box and I haven't seen it. Humphrey, maybe for a minute or two.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald, and thank you very much, our guests, for answering the questions. So I will start with the question about the timeline. From the administrative point of view, we are also able to address the timeline that one can use to register for and sit for the NCLEX exam. And from where I sit, that requires 6 months. 6 months, you can add or subtract a few on that, but 6 months is very okay for you to register for and prepare for the NCLEX exam. Like for us, what we do when we have an NCLEX intake, like now we have an NCLEX intake in October, so we are registering people with CGFNS and JSA. They will be starting their classes in October, study for 4 months, have some revision after for about 1 month after the program, and they are going to take their exams and they will pass the exams. The reason why there have been some delays is it's actually an after effect of COVID-19, whereby the CGFNS had a huge backlog. So there was quite unexpected delays with the CS report processing. But since we have been monitoring what has been happening, currently the CGFNS is actually getting back to the normal 3 to 4 months timeline of releasing the CS reports. So the people who are going to start the process now or have just started may not get the delays that other people did get. Sometimes also it happens that you have started the process and there are some things you have done wrong. Maybe you have done some applications that you are not supposed to do, so you wait for your report, it will not come. So those are some of the things that cause delays. The delays are actually very personalized. The reason for the delay on the side of one person may not be the same for the other person. So, and that's where Passcode comes in, to ensure that everything about your process is okay. if for some of the people who start with us are fresh, we're able to push the process and have it move smoothly so that they don't take much time waiting for their CS reports and the ATT. Because what happens is that once you wait for too long, you might prepare for those 6 months. And if you're not able to take your exam after the 6 months, then you kind of get tired. You wait for another 2, 3, 4 months, your ATT is not yet out. Then by the time your ATT is coming out, you are so tired, you just feel you can't read again, and you decide to go take your exam just the way you are. And for sure, you go take that exam and then you fail. So it's very important for consistency, and we do advocate for that. The other issue which I would like to address is someone was asking if after how long they can be able to take the NCLEX exam after taking IELTS. First of all, I want to tell you that there is no requirement that you should take the English exam, that is IELTS, before you do NCLEX. If you want to do the US process, we actually advise you to take the NCLEX exam first, then you will do IELTS or OET later. There's actually another question that was asked about OET. Can you do OET instead of IELTS for the US process? The answer is yes. So don't worry about the IELTS exam if you have not done it. I know some agencies will tell you they will first of all want your IELTS before they can admit you. Those are sponsoring agents. They have very tough rules which you have to follow for you to join them. So you can just register for NCLEX when you are fresh from school, as long as you have your license. And what you need to start the NCLEX process is just your license, registered nurse license for your country, and your transcripts. So the other question that was asked is was asked by, I'm forgetting the name, someone from Zimbabwe asked, are we able to assist them to do the process when they are there? And what I can assure you is that at Passcode, we have candidates joining the program from all over the world, including nurses from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Ghana, Nigeria, and Cameroon. And also nurses who are in the UK transitioning to the USA, as well as nurses who have gone to the USA with a visitor visa or a study visa, and they want to do the NCLEX process from the US. So you can do the NCLEX process from anywhere because all our services are can be delivered online. You don't need to come to our offices. But if you are in Kenya or you're in Nairobi, you want to come to our offices are located at KTDA Plaza, 60th floor at the Nairobi City Center. And we are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And our business is purely nurses business. Someone also asked about the process after exam. Once you pass the NCLEX exam, we are going to arrange for you for an employer if you don't have one. But if you have one, that will be okay. And then after the NCLEX exam, you take the IELTS exam. After that, we are going to apply for you a certificate called Visa Screen Certificate, which basically allows you to start the immigration process. Once you start the immigration process, for which you must be having an employer, the process is going to take about a year, and then you're going to migrate to the US, not unless when we have extraordinary times. Okay, so those are the few questions that I thought we had not addressed. The other issue I would like to say now is that our next NCLEX intake, our next class for the NCLEX exam will be in October. The class will be starting on the 16th of October, and that will be the last class for 2023. We are in the process of doing an evaluation of what we have done at Passcode, and we are so far very satisfied with our outcomes. And we are happy, therefore, to take only one intake for the remaining time, and that is October 2023. So that's more than a month from now. If you want to join that class, you're not late, just get in touch with us with the number that has been posted on the chat box, and we are going to discuss with you and join you to the process. If you commit yourself and be consistent, like Marianne and Marcy have just said, I can assure you that you'll take this exam and pass it with the first attempt. If you talk to a number of people, if you know them, any that did not make it in the NCLEX, if they do a thorough search investigations, they will find a number of things they didn't do right. When you're able to understand what you didn't do right, it becomes very important to understand why you didn't pass. And therefore, if you correct that, you're going to pass the exam. Thank you very much, Donald. Back to you.
Wow, amazing. It's always amazing listening to you, giving us insights. You make it look so simple and so easy. I mean, it's so beautiful. And so we are going to take the call to action from our guest speakers today. But I'm also going to make our attendees know. We'd like also to get feedback from you, probably from one person to give a vote of thanks or feedback. As our guest will be speaking, if you'd like to give the vote of thanks or a feedback, just raise your hand. I'll be able to pick one person. Raise your hand, then we will give feedback after the guests have spoken. As I'll begin with Marianne. What will be your call to action in 45 seconds? What will be your key message or call to actions in like 45 seconds?
Donald, I had some connectivity. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Oh, sorry about that. I was asking, what will be? I was asking you to give you a call to action, in less than a minute. What will be your key message or call to action to the attendees?
Okay, thank you very much. So my point of emphasis is know the reason as to why you started this journey, and then have in mind that this journey is doable as long as you have positive mind and an open mind. And then in terms of like make it your day-to-day activity in this journey. And then to add on that, have God, place God in your highest position. Always believe in God and in everything that you're doing, because you know that everything happens for a reason. Some of us wanted to test the exams with the old generation, but because of some avoidable circumstances, we find ourselves, we did the engine. So believe in God, be faithful, and then be consistent. Consistency is the key, and have patience. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Asante sana, thank you very much. Mercy, give us your call to action.
Okay, my call to action. Number 1, join Passcode consultant class if you haven't done so. 2, implant discipline and consistency in this journey until you make it. Then be self-motivated. Just know why you are doing this. Be self-motivated and have confidence and a positive attitude. If you have a bad attitude, you know what we say. A bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere if you don't change it. So have a positive attitude towards the NCLEX. And above all, if you're spiritual like me, always pray and ask God to guide you. And last of all, pass your NCLEX. Thank you. Back to you, Donald.
Okay, thank you very much, Mercy. Before I call in Mr. Humphrey to give us his final remarks and close the meeting, I would like to give one person an opportunity to give feedback or a vote of thanks. Is there anybody who is ready? You can just raise your hand or unmute. I see, all right. Okay, I see somebody has unmuted. Somebody has. Yes, please go ahead. Oh, yes, Ngosa, you can unmute and give us your feedback.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Ngosa.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ngosa from Zambia. Hello.
Yes, Ngosa, we can hear you.
Okay, yes. So I'm Ines from Zambia, and I saw Passcode on Facebook. At first, I thought they were scammers before I could pay the money. So after I've paid and saw how consistent they are, how zealous they are teaching, I think I recommend everyone, those who have not yet enrolled with them. I enrolled with them in June, and I'm really thankful and grateful for their work that they are doing. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say. I'm really happy to be one of the Passport students, and I really encourage others to take part. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Ngosa from Zambia. We are proud to have you with us and also acting as our ambassador of good radiance. Karibu sana, and we look forward to seeing you passing your NCLEX exams. Well, I'm Donald. I've been your moderator for today. I work for a US firm as their quality assurance manager from Kenya. At this point, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Humphrey to give his final remarks. Then we'll call the meeting to an end. Mr. Humphrey?
Oh, thank you very much, Donald, for this chance. My final remarks would be first, as always, I want to take this chance to thank you, our audience, very, very much for attending this meeting. This meeting could not materialize without you. And I also want to take this chance to thank God for the grace He has given to our team to be able to take this program where we have taken it so far. Lastly, I would like to ask nurses who are aspiring to go to the US to practice, let nothing deter you. There's a lot of information out there. Some of it can be negative, but if you go to the internet, to Google, you can get a lot of information and then you make a decision for yourself. The other thing is that you have so many friends. You have most likely you have friends there. There are so many people in the US right now from your countries. So make a point of asking them. Some of them are your friends. And even if, because some of them may not give you the right information, I know your voice and you will know. So the US currently needs about 1 million nurses by the year 2030. 1 million nurses. Even if, like if we take one country in Africa, for example, if that one country in Africa takes all their nurses to the US, that will not still meet the demand. So the US needs you so much. Do your part, leave the immigration part to the immigration attorneys. They will do their part. And at the end of the day, it may take slightly more than you expected. You're going to find yourself in the US and you're going to be paid with those dollars. Once you earn the dollars, you can decide to live there or you can decide to go back to your country. But the truth of the matter is that we need these jobs and we need the dollars. And I want to wish you the best as we look for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are going to do a group photo. For attendees, kindly, if you are able to unmute your video, we normally take a group snap with our videos on. If you are in a position where you can put on your video, you can just, I can see some of us have already begun doing it. Very beautiful. Do not worry about the quality or anything, just put on your video. We take a simple snap for us all. You guys are smiling, that's good. It's good to see you smiling on a Sunday. Tomorrow is Monday. Rashid, I see you. Good. All right, so we're going to do take 1, 2, 3, good. So we're going to take a second one. Just hold it there for us to capture everyone. All right, take 2. Take 2 for
Fortunately, my camera has some issues.
Oh, no problem. Let me go to the second page so that don't miss out anyone. And in, all right, here. 1, 2, 3, go. Wow. There we go. And I wish you a very beautiful week ahead. May you go and win. We can all unmute and say good night and have a good week ahead.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Take care.
Good night.